So welcome to everybody who's joining us online. We're very excited to have an in-person event. Last year we got to do just virtual, so we didn't have any hiccups. But we have kind of both going on right now. And of course, in October, this year's Startup Week will be a hybrid event, so we'll do both in-person and virtual. So this is good practice for how we're going to screw it up then. So anyways, today's agenda, we're really just going to recap how last year went. I'm also going to recap 2019. It was the last year we had an in-person event, and I think it's good to refresh what that looks like. Then we're really excited to introduce you to a new co-chair. So Don Berger's here and going to talk through some of the major changes that we have, especially in our structure of how we organize ourselves. And then TM's going to bring us home, talking about all the events that we know for certain we're going to do and give you guys all calls to action on how you can join us in organizing. Before I do that, though, we're very excited to be joined today by Mayor Mclean, who's going to christen this effort. And so we're very excited to have you join us. You can break champagne in here. We'll clean it up. Don't worry about it.
Well, thanks, Nick, and hi, everybody. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that we're getting together early because I found out Monday that I got an invitation to speak at Startup Week on Wednesday, and first I said, well, I thought Startup Week was in October, and second was, why are they asking me 2 days before if I'm supposed to give a speech at Startup Week? So I got a little worried that I needed the agenda of Startup Week, all these things, and then people let me know that, no, it was this kickoff to get ready for the event in October, which is actually great to have right now because it's been so long since we've all been together. What I want to say was a couple things. This last year has taught everybody what so many of you as entrepreneurs and heads of startups know, and that is to tackle the unknown and address challenges. You have to be able to assess things quickly, be flexible, pivot immediately when needed, be able to juggle like long-term vision with momentary crisis and needs at the moment. With a good sense of humor, a whole bunch of stamina, and for public leaders, a whole bunch of courage. And I said this to my team on Tuesday as we started to go through our budget. Like, this is what was demanded of city employees in this last year. And it really is, like, take lessons from those who've started companies, take lessons from those who've joined companies early, and create the space in which my employees, as those who serve you, can innovate. And we've tried to do that in this last year. And we've also learned in the last year, and many of us knew it, my husband's in the tech space too, that gathering places like this, convenings, community, are integral to long-term success and resilience. So we needed to figure out new ways to connect with each other and make sure events continued, like Startup Week Digital. We needed to come up with new ways to see those who either are our family or have become our family in the communities that we've created. And we needed to come up with ways to foster and nurture the relationships and connections that make our economy strong. Trailhead is integral to that, as are all of you. And Startup Week is a big part of that because it creates that space for people to come together. So I am super excited, one, to see faces for those of you who are able to be unmasked, and two, to think about the power and impact of a convening in the fall where we talk about and focus on the ecosystems that have been built, that are being built now, and that will be built so Boise continues to thrive as we move beyond this 100-year event, really pivotal moment in our own community as we're growing, addressing emergency needs, but also thinking about what the future looks like and imagining and having that space to be creative. So look forward to the conversation, hearing more about the event in October. Really appreciate being here. Glad it wasn't the actual Startup Week. And I'll be there in October too.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to jump right into our agenda. Thank you so much, Mayor Mclean, for coming down. We managed to not have any champagne anywhere, so double success. Mark, for people online, let me know. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and roll our recap video of last year.
This is Boise Startup Week. Day one, intro, take one. Mark. Top of the morning to you, Boise Startup Week.
Being an entrepreneur, you know what? It's been the funnest ride, and it's also taught me a lot of lessons in life and in business.
We're talking with an esteemed group of panelists.
With a fireside chat with Mary Mclean, minus the fire.
Right, with the desk instead of the fire.
John is ranked the #1 blind painter in the world and the only blind muralist.
We talk about collaboration and education, but we don't mean it, because education is a single-player sport.
I wanted my own. I wanted to own my own thing, that I could make my own mistakes, pay for my own mistakes, where I could go out and celebrate the victories.
You're about to watch Trail Mix Pitch Competition 2020.
Hi, I'm Dan Smith.
My name is Matt Bishop.
Thank you for the opportunity today to share a little bit of our product with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Olivia Esser.
I'm Phil Rowe. I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer of Terroir AI.
My name is Alexis Rankin. I am the CEO and co-founder of Chillo.
There's institutional investors coming into Boise in larger numbers than I've ever seen before.
So Black Box VR is the first ever virtual reality workout experience.
They're 100% in it. I'm just the one that's running around with my, hair on fire and speaking for them.
I wanted to do it all, be at everything all the time, to the point where I was constantly stressed out, and I started calling that a fear of missing out.
Entrepreneurs solve problems. They make the world a better place. They create jobs. They create wealth, not only for themselves, but for the entire community. And when you foster that, you can accelerate not only a company, but an entire economy. That's why it's so important to support Startup Week.
So listen, last year was a weird year. It wasn't the event we wanted to run, but it is the event that we needed to run. And so, I'm very excited at how it came out. I unfortunately had to sit at home and watch it because I got exposed to COVID 3 days before it happened. So Mr. Don Berger, who's here, who will talk in a minute, stepped in for me in, I think, 15-hour notice. So it was pretty amazing how it came together, how many people had to help to make that happen. And so some of those statistics, we ran 84 events over the course of 5 days. We had 1,560 virtual attendees, which we think is pretty excellent for a virtual event. We had $174,000 in sponsorship last year, which thank you to those of you who sponsored last year. We know that was also probably not the event you wanted, but we appreciate it. And probably the biggest thing is we knew last year that probably the biggest value we could give to our community was trying to up the amount of prize money that we were able to give out. So last year was the most we've ever awarded in pitch competitions. That was $74,500 in 5 different pitch competitions. So that was huge for us. And you can see the pitch competitions there. So we're really excited how that came out. It was necessary that we did it, and we're glad we did. Something that I want to highlight just a little separately here. Every year we like to test at least one new thing, and last year being the weird year it was, we decided this is what we would test. So we did a reverse pitch competition for students. These were both high school and college students. The prize money had both for scholarship awards and cash prizes for college students. It was a total test. Mayor Mclean did one of the problem videos. We had 8 problem videos from Chobani, Department of Health and Welfare, INL, City of Good, City of Boise, and a few others. And these students did a great job coming up with solutions to these problems. It was the city's problem that won, so that's nice. Got to thank University of Idaho and Wells Fargo and Micron for taking a big risk, helping to fund something that we'd never done before in a weird year. So that was really exciting that they did that. Any questions about how last year went? I'm going to jump to 2019 to kind of refresh us what in-person looks like. Any questions about how last year went? No? Cool. We'll never talk about it again, I promise. Cool. So 2019, I'm going to go through this real quick. We'll watch another video, and I'll be real brief on 2019. I thought it was important. This is Startup Week, right? This is what we think of. This is what we want to run. This is the energy that we're trying to capture. And so I really wanted to show that off. So real quick, we'll watch a video. Different, huh? I have to say, while I was watching that video, like last night, putting my final touches on the presentation, because I'm not a procrastinator at all, so I kept I had this weird moment where people give each other a hug, and I was like, oh, right, like jumped out at me because it's been so long since we've touched any part of each other, right? It's crazy. Anyway, so that's what Startup Week is to us. That's what it means to us to run Startup Week, and we're very excited to get back to that kind of energy. So real quick, just to recap on that year. Last year, or in 2019, we had 3,400 attendees, so more than double what our virtual event was last year. We ran 9 tracks. We did 105 events. We had over 270 pitch competition competitors across 5 different pitch competitions. And probably the really exciting one was 1,100 of those attendees were high school or college students. So we really think planting seeds is a reason we're here, right? And of course, like always, like to highlight giving out money, right? So we had $53,250 awarded in prize packages that year for pitch competitions. That's very important that we continue to do that. And then probably the big story was growth in youth. We don't quite remember this is 2 years ago, but we probably can't use Jump for the youth track again. We outgrew it. So we had standing room only. Glad the fire marshal didn't show up. So that was probably the last year we get to do the youth track at Jump, and we're really excited that we have to find a new venue now. So with that, I'm really excited to introduce our new co-chair, Mr. Don Berger, who's going to walk us through some of the changes for this year.
Hi. You know, it's only in Boise where you can move somewhere 9 months ago and then like help run the startup week. It's a privilege. Anyway, so you know, you bring a new guy on board and it's an opportunity to go back to the drawing board, and that's exactly what we did. Before I jump into that, I will quickly introduce myself since Nick didn't do that. And I love talking about myself. So I, for those who've heard the story, I'm very sorry. I was on a road trip during COVID. I stopped in Boise on month 4, fell in love with it, and never left. Unlike other people who may have moved here for other reasons, mine were completely unexpected. I felt, you know, I was going to go back to New York City, where I'm from, and then I kind of realized that the rat race of the East Coast just wasn't for me. And I felt much more belonging in this place. And it's just really nice to see so many familiar faces. And I really thank each and every one of you who's, you know, extended their arm over the past year to get to know me. So thank you. And that's what makes me really proud of calling this place home. So as Nick mentioned, T-minus 15 hours, I get a call saying, you got to host Boise Startup Week because I've been exposed. And I said sure. And I showed up at Jump on Monday morning, and Tim and I co-hosted for the rest of the week. And then I guess I did such a terrible job, they said I should come back this year. So I said, I'm happy to come back. Let's kind of talk about everything and see how we can make some exciting changes. Because my background is in the hospitality space. I had a SaaS business, event management SaaS company, software as a service. And one of the things we know about events is that events are basically like products. Even if you're trying to copy and paste last year's program, it's never going to be the same. You know, we're all going to be 1 year older, even if everybody attends. The weather might be different. There might be a pandemic. We may be post-pandemic. So every event is different, even if it's the same. So the way I like to think about a conference, instead of it being the sixth annual Boise Startup Week, it's Boise Startup Week version 6. And therefore, we have to be iterative. We have to be innovative. And that's kind of what we did. And for us, it kind of went back to thinking about what do we think about when we think about Startup Week. And one of the things I've observed, having been here for a year, is that there's a unique culture here. And that's true for any place, but here it's especially different. And copying and pasting what works on the East Coast or the West Coast doesn't necessarily work in Idaho. And some people learned that the hard way, some people learned it the easy way. And I think for us, we want to make sure this conference is authentic to Idaho. And we'll talk about that, what that means in a little bit. The other piece of it is because I find Boise to be much more community oriented than other places I've lived in, namely DC and New York and Tel Aviv. We really want to make sure that community is centric to everything we do. So think about how we can be involved with the community every step of the way. And then finally, we wanted to increase our aperture. Make sure we are more inclusive. We take the tent poles and pull them out. Because, you know, one of the things that happens is as communities smaller communities tend to be more and more niche. So we want to make sure the community here is bigger. So we're going to see what we did about that in a second. Actually, I think now. So the first thing we're renaming Boise Startup Week. And we're calling it Boise Entrepreneur Week. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to make sure it's a much more inclusive experience to all kinds of entrepreneurs, from sole proprietors to service businesses to startups, food companies, CPG businesses, entrepreneurs, retirees, and pretty much everybody in between. And we feel that this name is much more inclusive to the community. And that allows us to really expand our programming and allows us to reach an audience we've never reached out before. And I think the first call to action from all of you, and by the way, thank you so much for being here today. It shows the commitment that you all have. We had 125, 130 registrations. So to those who are online, to those who are in person, to those who will watch this recording, to those who will sign up later, thank you very much, because this is the call to action we need to really expand that aperture and be more inclusive as a startup and entrepreneur community. Now, I know it's exciting to give things acronyms, but no matter what happens after today, don't walk around saying, pew, pew, pew. That's an internet meme, cat meme. It's pew, pew, pew. But anyway, so You can call it BU, you can call it BW, whatever floats your boat. We'll answer to both and other things. And with that, and somebody who I've gotten to know over the past few weeks and I've been really excited to work with is Ron Baker from Ryzen Creative. And he's our marketing partner for the year. And I'm really excited for him to walk you through some of the changes we made and how we're going to position and brand Boise Entrepreneur Week. So Ron, please come up.
You're going to switch over to my deck?
Yeah, it's already there.
All right, great.
Call me up when you're done.
Very good. Thank you, Don. I'm going to get this right one of these days, but anyway, and to Nick and to TM for having me here today. It's a thrill. When 3 weeks ago, in fact, I was just checking my calendar, my phone. I usually don't pick up my phone in meetings like this, but I had to check. It was exactly 3 weeks ago at this moment when we got together. It was almost exactly this time. We got into my office and I sat these three guys down and I just started beating on them. I picked their brain about what this meant to them, what this event meant to them. And so for me, I felt like, challenge accepted. These guys were like, come on, you got to come up with a creed, a battle cry, a message. And I thought, well, again, challenge accepted. I've been in the marketing business for 19 years as Ryzen Creative and almost 30 years as I don't know if an adult is the right tag for me or not, but nonetheless, that's where I've been. I'm going to take you through today the manifesto. We've recrafted the manifesto as we see it based on feedback from these gentlemen and from the experiences that I've heard loud and clear over the years as far as the other events and more importantly, what it means kind of coming out of a pandemic year. I mean, we're all dying to be here. I can't tell you how cool it is to be standing in this room in front of a group of people. It's like, it's almost a little surreal, but I'm grateful. So again, thank you guys for having me here today. I'm going to do my best to dance through this. So, 2001 manifesto. To me, what I've learned about this group is that we have a responsibility to get loud. You know, Boise Entrepreneur Week has two very, very important things to me. Boise, our community. I've been a part of this community since 1982, and there's a great deal of pride in that. And so with that, also being an entrepreneur, I've been a business owner for 19 years. But this is our charge. This is what I'm challenging you guys with, is a manifesto toward the future here as far as 2001 is concerned. So in 2020, the pandemic created an unprecedented obstacle. I don't think anyone can argue with that point here in this room or online. As Idahoans, we embraced that invisible barrier and seized on opportunities for what lay ahead. Our home, our surroundings, or most importantly, our community are the perfect soil for planting the seeds for Boise's next generation of businesses. We believe in Boise. I know I do. I know that every single person in this room does. And you can pretty much ask anyone on the street and they'll say the exact same thing. We've got a very, very wonderful community, but we believe in Boise as an unequal community of entrepreneurs ready to unleash their ideas as individuals. As individuals, they're powerful, but again, as a collective, they're unstoppable. This is the coolest community. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I've run into, and I was an accidental entrepreneur, and 19 years later, I'm still trying to figure this one out, but so far, so good. We desire as Boise Entrepreneur Week to be the platform for collaboration and new beginnings that inspire growth-focused outcomes. Boise Entrepreneur Week provides a springboard, bringing together driven idealists to shout, exchange, laugh, and cultivate their ideas. This is our pursuit. I see, again, being involved in this, I can't help but feel like, wow, coming out of 2020 and coming into 2021, how cool is it going to be to really just get charged up? Like Nick said, you almost feel a little uncomfortable about the idea of hugging somebody, but damn, doesn't it feel good when you do it. And to me, I think that that's one of the things that we're going to have a lot of fun with this year. So, being able to get back together, shout, laugh, exchange ideas, absolutely critical. With certainty, our charge is to stand up for startups and their visionaries. We level up for those who dream and dare to believe that their ideas can change the world. Bringing like-minded people together to foster those ideas and positive connections is our most important goal, hands down. This year, we sprint as pioneers toward the imminent together. Right now, we're going beyond just talking. Right now, we're blazing the trail for Boise's future. And of course, what we see this as is right now Boise. What we see this is a battle cry. So they're just words on a screen, but they're words on a screen that internally, inside the heart, we believe are the most important things to be said right now. It's about engaging people right up front, in person, even if it's online, being as personal as possible, but yelling and shouting and exchanging ideas and being ready to do that in a very urgent way. We've had a year to take off, man. It's time to get back to work. And so with that charge, I give you this manifesto as a first round. What you're going to be seeing in the coming months, working with these guys, is a whole new direction as far as what Boise Entrepreneur Week is going to look like in terms of its messaging, in terms of its image. But this is the charge that I put before you guys, that these guys have entrusted me with. And I hope that this resonates with this crowd, both online and here in person. And I hope that, I get a chance to meet a lot of you people. I'm looking forward to that too. Again, my name is Ron Baker. I'm with Rise Creative. I've been in the Boise Valley for a long time and as an entrepreneur for 19 years, and I couldn't be more thrilled to be here today. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much. All right, and I just also want to give a shout out to Shelly and Heather. I don't know where they are. They can wave their hand. There are event planning team, and then Matthew Gilkirkson with Trailhead and Lindsay as well, and Mark from behind the camera. This wouldn't be possible without all those guys. Okay, that was really awesome, and I think that's just like perfect, I think. And I think knowing a lot of people here and knowing their average tenure is probably like, some people I know are like 3 years or 5 years, that just feels so right to all of us, whether we've been here for a long time, whether we're new. So I want to quickly kind of get down to business. And again, all of you came here in order to serve, I hope. And again, thank you very much. So this is really the part we're going to get down to business and talk about our objectives as a consolidated team, an extended team. And then we'll go over some of our KPIs, or key performance indicators. And then we'll talk about our structure for how to get involved, because we want to make sure that this is a big tent and everybody who wants to get involved can get involved and knows where to go in order to get involved. So our first objective and our primary objective is to increase the number of positive connections people have at Boise Entrepreneur Week. What does that mean? That means that every chance you get, whether you're sitting next to somebody, standing next to somebody, throwing a ball at somebody's face in dodgeball, have a drink with somebody, riding the trails with somebody, whatever it is you're doing, you have a positive connection with somebody. Because at the end of the day, the way people connect is not by people speaking to them. It's people speaking to one another. And we're going to be creating many more opportunities that are going to be to interface with each other. The second objective is to empower attendees with the necessary entrepreneurial skills. So that's basically through educational programming. Albeit there'll be a little less educational programming this year because we'll make room for different types of programming, specifically social and community programming. There'll be a lot of programming that's specific to right here, right now Boise entrepreneurs, to make sure that we're empowering them with the skills they need. Strengthen Boise's position as an entrepreneurship hub. This is a bit of a funny one, and I think we've all felt funny saying this because people who are here are like, don't let the secret out. Even like the most liberal people are like, nobody come in anymore. But it's true. And anyway, so we do want to make sure that we are able to position Boise as a place where entrepreneurs who are like-minded can do their thing. 2 more, accelerate onboarding for newer residents. This is a new one. Just by show of hands, who's been in Boise 5 years or less? Okay, that's about half the room. So we want to make sure that people who've come here recently get to know the community faster, right? And we're going to be accelerating that through programming. And finally, help local businesses with acquiring and retaining talent and acquiring funding. So with that, we have some goals. Yay, goals! Our first goal is $350,000 in sponsorship dollars. In sponsorship dollars, yes. And if you may recall from Nick's presentation, we had about 150,000 last year. So this is almost triple the amount of dollars we'll be raising from the community, the business community. And I think we're, as Tim will share in a minute, we're actually way past where we should be in this goal, contextual to the time we are to Boise Entrepreneur Week. We want to get to 6,000 registrants. That's a 50% increase from 2019. So we're going to go from like 3,500, 3,600 to 6,000. And then finally, we want to give out $100,000 in money. We want to raise $100,000 from the community to be able to give to entrepreneurs who are pitching. And we'll have several pitch opportunities to do that. So I'm going to ask Tiem and Nick to come to the stage a little closer since we're going to talk about the committees. But here is the structure. So again, this is the details. This is a bit minutia. We want to make sure that you as members of this bigger team can participate. So the three of us are going to be running different committees. And you can see there's an education committee, a social and community committee, a youth committee, a pitch committee, a talent committee, a sales and marketing committee, and a sponsorship and partnership committee. And basically, you can get involved with one, you can get involved with many, and we will be essentially running these as business units, if you will. And now each one of us is going to tell you about the committees just a little bit, so you can start thinking about how you want to get involved. Check out mine. But check out mine. But really though. Okay, so I'll start things off with the education committee. Our charter is to create the educational content for the conference that is contextual to the entrepreneurship community's needs. So what that means is we're not going to have workshops that don't appeal to what the entrepreneurs in Idaho need. In Idaho, people don't necessarily like to fundraise. They don't want to get diluted. They don't want to get diluted. So maybe we do different alternative fundraising as opposed to just VCs talking. Our needs. So this is where kind of hopefully a light bulb goes off for you all, both our online audience and our in-person audience. We're looking for subject matter experts, SMEs. I love saying that, SMEs. Previous track chairs and industry leaders. So if this is kind of, or anybody, but basically if this is kind of you, we want you. I want you. Our objectives are to identify educational topics. So basically we'll decide, what are the things that need to be talked about in 2021? Is it risk mitigation because of the pandemic? Is it country risk because of what happens offshoring in India, for example, with the pandemic? Is it crypto? Is it NFTs? What is it? So we're going to first decide what are the things we want to talk about. Then we'll solicit and manage calls for proposals. We'll review those as a team. And finally, we'll book general session keynotes. So Boise Entrepreneur Week will have daily keynotes Monday through Thursday. The second committee that I chair, and then I'll bring on my colleague, is the Social and Community Committee. This committee is chartered with designing events that bring together like-minded entrepreneurs for networking opportunities that have a community impact. So imagine for a second, you go hit the trails and people are wearing different t-shirts depending on what the industry they're in. Or imagine we go do a river cleanup together, and while we're picking up trash, we can start chatting about what we do. Just, ways of doing it more authentic, more deliberate, more thoughtful than just standing around with a cocktail and looking awkward. Although that's pretty cool too. That's the after party to river cleanup. Our objectives are to come up with a diverse social programming that aligns to our attendees' values and to organize and coordinate those social events. So if you have connections with the community, maybe you're on the board of Rivers to Ridges, maybe you're on the board of the Boys and Girls Club, whatever it is, or maybe you're Sean Keithley, who's in charge of economic development for the city. We want people who are connected to the community and can help bring those connections to our programming. And with that, I'm going to invite TM to talk about the Youth Committee and also the Executive Director of Trailhead.
Thank you. Yes, Youth Committee. Some of you might have picked up on that as Nick was talking earlier about 2019. Youth is a core component of Boise Startup Week. So that's my way of selling to you that it's really important and you should sign up for it. Honestly, I'm thrilled and terrified to be in this committee because it has to do with high school students. But jokes aside, Matthew Gilkerson, who's our program manager here at Trailhead, he runs a program, shout out Matt, he runs a program called You Lead Idaho. That program is an experiential learning experience for high school students that live in rural Idaho. And I will tell you that as terrifying as that sounds, it's probably the most gratifying work we get to do at Trailhead, is work with youth. So if you're passionate about youth, this is your committee. This is what you want to join. So just quickly, 2019, as Nick shared, we saw a huge increase in youth engagement and youth activity at Boise Startup Week. And so with 2020, we noticed quite the drop-off just because of the format. It was a remote engagement style. And with that, we did launch the Youth Innovation Challenge. So my point being is that coming off of 2020, whoever joins this committee, we have a huge opportunity to regain some of those column losses or attrition in terms of engagement. And we are looking for people to help us do the following. We want you to curate experiences and connections for high school students so they can connect with entrepreneurship in authentic ways. And there really is only one way of doing that, and that is to include high school students in this committee. So if you're a high school student, you're not excluded, you can still be a part of this committee, and I highly encourage you to do so. Last year we had One Stone as well as Alturas, who is here, help us out with the youth track. Thank you for that. So far this year we had folks from the Boise State Admissions Office join this committee. Moving on to the next committee, which basically sells itself because this committee is tasked with giving away $100,000 in giant checks. Sound good to anyone? I don't have to say anything else, do I? So this committee sort of is the umbrella for all of the pitch competitions. So you have trail mix, there's a $20,000 pitch competition, but per our new goal of $100,000, we might have to rename that pitch competition to a higher dollar amount. Oh, we're naming a lot of stuff this year, huh? It also includes the Youth Innovation Challenge, as we mentioned earlier. Boise State's Venture College brought the Hacking for Homes pitch competition to Boise Startup Week last year as well. So you'll get to work with and vet early stage entrepreneurs. You have to be judgy because you may end up being a judge. And you have to really enjoy working with people and help them as a mentor and as a coach. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Nick so he can convince you to join my committees.
You should join TM's committees, it's true. So I don't know how this happened as I'm sitting here. They both got 2 committees. I got 3, so yeah. So this one's pretty straightforward, sponsorship and partnership. So year over year, if most of your sponsors, you've probably dealt with me at one point. We're going to have a committee that does a little bit of this, and of course you'll still deal with me, but we're going to try and make sure we have people around to make sure that we have points of contact that can easily onboard you into the types of events that you want to be a part of. Our sponsorship does look very different this year in how it's structured. For those of you who remember before, we've had like track level sponsorships. You'd sponsor a block of content. That is not how we're doing it this year. So there will be opportunities to sponsor specific events, but what you're sponsoring is going to be mostly event-wide, and then we'll talk specifically to individual events that you will get to show up and be like, we're the sponsor for. So we're going to change that around. We think it's what most of our sponsors want anyways. They've been asking us to structure things a little bit more like this, give them opportunities to maybe run their own event. So that's going to be built into how we do sponsorships. So anyone who's interested in kind of working with our community partners, this will also handle our third-party events. So IVRC's VR Bash is going to come back this year. Obviously, we have liaison that works with them to run that. We're very excited to continue talking with ITC, and I know Jay came for the Hall of Fame. That's that week. And also this year we have the Boise Chamber Gala running on Tuesday night, so we'll be coordinating with them. Our first plan is to offer a joint ticket that will get you into all of those events. So we'll have a VIP ticket that's week wide for all those events. My second committee, sales and marketing. One of the goals that was shared was 6,000 attendees. This is who gets it done. So we have a handful of people who are already, of course, working here. Ron was nice enough to give us our manifesto, but that's a big ask to double the amount of attendees. And the right kind of attendees. So understanding how to target those attendees and make sure we're getting them there. We feel fairly confident that those are obtainable goals, but this is the committee that gets it done. So anyone who has expertise in PR, anyone who has design or branding expertise, anyone who likes pushing the buttons on the socials, I do, so we can work together on that. This is the committee for you, and we'd be happy to have you. So it's a lot of fun. I think in my opinion, this is the most fun group. Join my committee. Did I miss one? How'd that happen? Oh, talent and recruiting. I did miss one. Sorry, I skipped over it. These are actual events. So for those of you who attended Startup Week in the past, you probably remember the Startup Crawl, and you probably remember some of the recruiting events that we've done. If you go way back in Startup Week's history, one of the original asks of us from our community was to figure out how to help onboard talent into the community. So we had businesses that were struggling looking for software engineers or designers or product people or whatever it was. We were all feeling that crunch 5 years ago. I don't think that's any different. Most businesses I talk to are still asking us about this. What are you guys going to do on this front? I think this year we have an opportunity to kind of change it up, think through different stuff. So normally I'd list off the events. It's not here this time, so I think this committee will get a chance to really think through how we do that better. It does also include all the engagement with the universities. So we bust down hundreds of college students from every university in the state of Idaho, and this is the community that does that coordination. So those are my committees. Join up for Don and TM's. Yeah.
All right. So this is the last stretch of us just talking at you constantly, I promise. So I'm going to try to take us home, wrap this up. But I want to get your attention to this map here real quick. What you're looking at is, this is our stakeholder map. And when combined, these stakeholders represent the ecosystem in Boise. It just so happens that once a year, they all get together around something called Startup Week. We all leave our swords at the door, and we go to bat for our community. And so if you think about this, you should be able to find yourself somewhere on this map. And if you can't find yourself, that means I missed someone. Tell me, and I'll get you on there. But also, if you think about it, this is a diverse set of players. And they all bring unique skills, resources, and assets to Startup Week. And they all bring a diversity of thought to Startup Week as well. And so, at the end of the day, this is what Startup Week is all about to me. It's about a unified, powerful effort to make all boats rise, right? So now that I have you in this soft, squishy place, all boats rise, kumbaya, drum circle, bonfire. What do you think the most important event is at Startup Week? Just shout it out. Most important event at Entrepreneur Week. Keep going. Trail mix, pitch competition. What else? Someone's pointing at their beer. Kickoff event. You named it. It is the return of the dodgeball. The most important event. So, other than making fun of myself, say what? Right? Yeah. It is indeed, yes. Thank you for reminding me. How could I forget? But I want to take a minute and make fun of myself because that facial expression is daunting. And if you imagine yourself at the receiving end of this epic blast, trust me, first it stings, then it burns, and it keeps on burning. Look, the real reason I'm even bringing this up is there's a call to action here. We need to dethrone bodybuilding.com. They've held this title for 2 years, although they only won one competition because of the pandemic. So last year, Jazz Krdalic came to Startup Week down to jump, and he wore his title belt. Do you know how insulting that is to me? Look at this face. That's how insulting that is. Anyways, please join us. We need to dethrone them. Bring your pros. You probably have college athletes in your organization. You can bring them. Vinyl tends to fly people in from out of state, arguably out of country. I don't even know if they work for you. And you cannot tell that we lost to Vinyl in 2019, but we did. So, yeah, return of the dodgeball. But the other events that are also returning, you can see them here. There are more to come. This is just what's in the works right now. There's at least a handful of events that are in process of being quote-unquote negotiated, which just means we're coming up with stuff. But really, I want to tie this being events, back to one of the goals that Don shared with us earlier. Events are going to be about creating opportunities for positive connections. And on the side, we can give them some checks. And if you want to do that, you do have to join my committee, remember? So more to come. We do have the VR Bash, as Nick said, Trail Mix, our CPG food product pitch competition. The pitch competition, I removed the 20K because I want to up it to at least 25. We'll have a VIP party, and we will have our dodgeball tournament, hopefully sponsored by Holland and Hart again, with another viewing of the movie Dodgeball. And that did happen. I'm not making that up. I want to give you all a quick rundown on where we stand on fundraising, and then we get to Q&A and the breakout sessions. As Nick and Don both alluded to, I'm just going to be completely honest. We don't have a sponsorship packet yet. it's not released. So our sponsors beat us to the punch. They decided not to wait for the packet to come out. So they approached us. And with that, the STEM Action Center, Idaho STEM Action Center, 3rd year in a row. This is the 2nd year in a row where they are putting up a $50,000 matching grant. So if we go out, raise 50 grand, they give us 50 grand. Sounds like a good deal, huh? Give it up for Idaho STEM Action Center. Next up, we have Don Berger. And I said, I can't figure this one quite out yet. It was either Don showed up last year to save our butts, and he figured, man, these guys need way more money, and they need a 3rd co-chair because they suck. Or he was like, man, this is the coolest thing in the world. I want to be a part of it. Either way, I welcome the 25 grand. Thank you, Don. Couple of more to go through. We have Idaho National Laboratories. They more than doubled their contribution. They have a very keen interest in featuring content around innovation, commercialization as it pertains to energy and cyber. So we're really excited about those guys. Another highly underrated asset in the state of Idaho that we need to build bridges to because they come with lots of resources, expertise, and labs. Next up is Vinyl, $10,000. Vinyl doubled their sponsorship, but that's not the only thing I want to call out about those guys. They did beat us at dodgeball, so I'm not going to do that. Vinyl also comes to us with many volunteers. If it wasn't for Vinyl resources, I can confidently say we would not be able to pull this off. Nick is a partner at Vinyl. He's a co-chair, but there are many other folks who volunteer, including Andy Farrar. We have Nicole Harris, Chris Hoyd. I know the partners fly in. So thank you for doubling up, and thank you for all the support, Nick. Lastly, we have Bank of Idaho, which is funny because they were the first ones actually to put in a check. They called us before the year's end, and they said, hey, we have some room in the budget. Startup week? And we said yes. So all in all, we have already surpassed $100,000 without having a sponsorship packet. And if you don't want to be a part of that, without further ado, I think we have time for Q&A. 15 minutes? Maybe 10. Q&A, this is the time to ask us questions about format, why, how, what, and for those of you online, drop them in the chat. Mark over here will help us curate and quarterback your questions for us. Yes, Gabe.
When we get it. No, I mean, the truth is that at this point, I mean, we still have the planning to do. We try to get it done in early September, pending some confirmation stuff. We usually have a pretty high level of where the big, like, marquee events, we know where the block party is going to go. We know where the pitch competitions are going to go. It's just a matter of, like, what is a mentor hike? What morning does that happen on? What morning does, this, that, or whatever, keynote or talk happen on? Oh, sorry. I don't even know if I'm on. Oh, I am on. Okay. Anyway, so usually early September is when we have it final.
So my committees will have their schedules out for sure in September. I don't know about the other committees. But after that, it's a move. That was a joke, by the way. It's a moving target. So we'll release, as Nick said, we'll know some things for certain, and then other things will develop, meaning events will come online. But September.
And in case we didn't say it, this year's event runs the week of October 18th. So in case we didn't specifically spell it out. So, yeah.
More questions, please. And I will, from now on, repeat them for the folks online. I don't have to.
I have a diversity and inclusion question. So have you guys thought about that? I'm looking around.
That's when I run.
A lot of white people, including me, here at this meeting. A lot's happened since the last startup week. So I was just curious if that has been discussion or something to be incorporated or considered, or just curious about that.
I'll invite the other co-chairs to speak to this as well. It has been considered. It has been discussed. We received some constructive criticism last year. That was well received by the organizing committee. There is a line I would like to drop on this one, but it's basically Boise Startup Week is ran by a Jew, a refugee, and a gay man. So I'm not saying we check all the boxes, but we're pretty close.
Gina, thank you for the question. I think it's an important one. I do think when it comes to diversity, inclusion, and equity, it's also important to consider context. So, D&I in Idaho may be a little different than D&I in LA. So, we certainly take that lens and, we're open to ideas of how to be able to reach a wider audience. So thank you. It sounds like you'd be a wonderful addition to the Social and Community Committee.
Which is not my committee, but that doesn't matter.
We meet every day from 9 to 5. No, I'm just kidding.
The last thing I'll say here is, for years we've worked with the Dignitas agency. I don't know if you're familiar with Angela Taylor, and we do currently have a proposal in our inbox right now that we've been considering to do some DE&I training amongst our volunteers and us. And so we believe that by doing that, it would also permeate out into our community. So that's something that we're looking at right now.
I feel like we keep qualifying. I'll just add one more thing. Our 2 event planners, the event planning team is a woman-led, woman-owned business in Shelley and Heather. So we have some gender diversity in the leadership level.
Other questions?
More questions now that I have the mic anymore.
Just for everyone online and here, you mentioned signing up for committees. How do you want people to reach out? To email you guys directly or?
Yes, as a matter of fact, if you have registered for this event, you will receive an email from us with a Google form asking you to give us more information in what you're interested in after you've heard what you're going to hear today. And so we'll do digitally, just fill out the form and get back to us. To answer your question?
And that is our...
After this.
You'll be after this event. That's probably our easiest way to onboard everybody. Of course, if you don't hear from us back, you can always email the info at Boise Startup Week email address, and we will definitely get back to you.
I was going to add, after this, the next slide is instructions on how to get involved right now. So after this, we're essentially going to break out into small breakouts, and we'll all talk and get things started immediately.
Yeah, we have a question from chat. Lindsay wants to know, when do you start the process for applying for the pitch competition?
That will start in early August. And that's the plan for all pitch competitions, which is one of the reasons we are now standardizing and streamlining all pitch competitions in one committee.
Cool. I have another one from chat as well. This is from IBR editor Lauren. Nick said earlier that every year you test something new. What are you planning to test this year?
Oh, we didn't have enough change with the whole name being different. That wasn't enough for you. Okay. Listen, each year we try and do a lot of different new stuff. Having completely different committee structures, having an emphasis on networking and community, which is certainly a new emphasis for us. I think those are our big ones. We also do have some pitch competitions that are being added. I'll let TM announce those later, but we know for a fact that we have at least one new pitch competition that we'll be adding. So every year is a new year, and certainly we had lots of change in what we just announced to you guys.
Colby, you have a question?
So you guys did mention how you are kind of recreating the...
Let's get him a mic real quick. Sorry, Colby. Thank you.
So you guys did mention a little bit about basically the recruiting events and the startup crawl that you guys have done, in the past, and a little recreation with that, and how important it is on that for local businesses. Do you guys already have some ideas on what you're doing on that angle? And if you are bringing back the startup crawl, things of that nature, that again, talent-based being extremely important.
It's a great question. Nick, do you want to take that as the talent committee lead?
Yeah, so what we do know for certain is that the university partners we've worked with in the past want to come again, okay? So we know at a minimum we're going to have junior and senior, mostly computer science students, but some marketing, some entrepreneurial students, some of that mix, right? So we know we have that audience that's coming. Now, the activities we specifically do with them, we certainly could run a crawl again. That went really well. It has gone really well for the last couple of years that we did it. The recruiting kind of networking event we've done before, that's gone pretty well too. I think I don't want to walk into that committee and say, like, here's the playbook, go. I think what I want to say is, are these the things that we want to continue to do? Is there better stuff that we can look at? Should we take some more advice on how we should organize this? Because there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, really, employers here need to connect with a lot of these folks. And there's a lot of new people who have moved here recently who call me on a weekly basis asking if I can put them in touch with people to hire them. So I just want to tell them to go to Startup Week. So anyways, I think it's an important committee. That's why it's its own thing and doesn't sit in anything else. We know the community needs this, and so we know we have the audience, and we'll come up with what the right stuff is to do.
And we love to work with Ventive in the past on those crawls. I know the participants really enjoyed checking out your cool office. More questions? Sidian? Can we? Oh, we had a faux pas on my Sidian. If you don't mind, just waiting for a minute. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that I was here in 2019 and I had a terrific time, and I'm really enthused. This is the first time I've been anywhere in a group setting after COVID or in the middle of COVID or whatever, wherever we happen to be right now with COVID 2000 whatever. So, but anyway, and there might be some COVID opportunities here too coming up with technology. But I wanted to just observe that this is a Boise Startup Week, so it doesn't necessarily have to be just technology. And technology crosses a lot of borders. It could transcend into the social dynamics. And what I'm particularly interested in is something they had in its infancy last time in the sustainability track. And I'm really looking forward to what evolves there. So this is something, again, that it doesn't have to be, but there are a lot of opportunities in green tech, of course. But there's that, and then the social area and the types of all kinds of things that come together, because that's really the sort of thing that thrives on connections and interconnections. It's a whole systems kind of approach. So I just want to throw that out there and look forward to whatever comes about in that universe.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you. One more question?
We got time for one more? Oh, Sidian, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Tim. Yeah. No promises, no promises. So mine's kind of a two-parter and is kind of jumps off of the question that was just asked back there. You talked a lot about, community engagement and doing things specific to what entrepreneurs want in Boise, and making, planning different events that people are interested in. And I'm curious, have you guys asked everybody in Boise so far and how you know that? And if not, am I able to be a part of that? Because I really enjoy that kind of process. And then my other question, sorry. Multiple, at least 3, but I'm making it 2 this time. My other one is I can't remember what it was called, but for your marketing thing, it was the voice with the microphone. It's about speaking up and yeah. And have you thought about including any youth speakers in that, or anything like that?
So I'll answer in reverse order. So we've had youth speakers every year, certainly both as part of the youth track and then on panels integrated within Startup Week. Typically they're coming from one zone, or they've had a project that they've had some reason why they're there doing some speaking, and so I expect that won't be any different this year. It'll be integrated in some component of Startup Week. The second part is, how do we know what entrepreneurs want? Well, the answer is we come here and we invite them to come join our committees, and then they tell us what their pain is and what they want to do. So that's the idea behind having a community-led event like this, is that we're going straight to the source of what some of the pain points are. I know Don does, and I know TM does, spends a lot of time meeting with people trying to help them solve problems. And so we have a pretty good sense of what things aren't quite right now. Is it funding? Is it recruiting? We have a good idea of where some of those things are and what conversations need to be had.
And I just to add to that, it sounds like you have useful skills. That would be great for my committee. And no, true, I'm serious. In doing some environmental intake and analysis on what we should do our programming around. So I'd love to work with you. I think we are at time. Yeah. Okay, cool. So if you're online, Mark, do we have a green light on online, or is there one more?
We do have two additional questions.
Okay,
online.
can you rattle them off really quick, and we can try to answer them?
Yeah. We have a question from Kristen. She says, generally speaking, how are the commitments committees structured in terms of meeting times, level of engagement, activities, etc.?
Yeah, great question. First order of business when we meet as a committee, I'm sure for all committees, is deciding some of those kind of forming rules. At the end of the day, those who can do more will do more. Those who can do less will do less. But if you have any free time, we'll take it.
Great. And the last question is from Sharon on YouTube. She asked, how do we connect with the co-chair in charge of the committees we are interested in? Is that from that slide up here?
Yeah, so after this event, everybody's going to get an email. There's going to be a form. That form is going to trickle back down to the committee chairs. You can reach each one of us on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest, unless you can find our emails if you want to reach out to us directly. But that form is going to get to us in the next 24 to 48 hours. Nick?
Yeah. Everyone will have that form. That's the easiest way for us to parse through it. Every year we have about 100 people that reach out to us, and if it's all on LinkedIn, I will miss you. I just won't be able to get to every single one. But if I have a form and a list that I can run through and see what you're interested in, it'll be pretty quick for us to get through it and start having those meetings. We typically do our first committee kickoffs pretty quick after we do this event. So we definitely want to see who you are and try and get those moving pretty quick. So the form, which you will get an email in less than 24 hours, guaranteed.
So we're going to wrap up. I just, again, want to thank everybody online for participating. I'm sure you're having Zoom fatigue, and we appreciate you making the time. And for those who are in person, thank you so much for being here. Even if you're just came here to check things out, really appreciate you giving us some of your afternoon. And with that, we're going to move into an activity. There are some refreshments served over there at the bar. There's drinks and some sandwiches. And then for those who are interested in the sales and marketing, sponsorship and partnerships, or talent committees, I'll make a note about that in a second. Go see Nick. Nick, where are you going to be? That way. Stage left. And that's it, because the slide just went off. If you're interested in the youth and pitch committees, you can go see TM. And TM, where are you going to be? I mean the center stage? Primary sponsor, big sponsor logo thing. Okay, awesome. So right over there in the back. And then finally, if you're interested in the social programming or the educational programming, come see me. I'll be over here at stage right. And that being said, if you are thinking about other committees, but you are a sponsor or a partner and you want to get involved, first go see Nick, then go see everybody else. And with that, again, on behalf of the three of us, thank you so much for making the time. We bid you farewell.
This is Boise Startup Week. Day one, intro, take one.
Top of the morning to you, Boise Startup Week.
Being an entrepreneur, you know what? It's been the funnest ride, and it's also taught me a lot of lessons in life and in business.
We're talking with an esteemed group of panelists.
With a fireside chat with Mayor Mclean, minus the fire.
Right, with the desk instead of the fire. John is ranked the #1 blind painter in the world and the only blind muralist.
We talk about collaboration and education, but we don't mean it, because education is a single-player sport.
I wanted my own. I wanted to own my own thing, that I can make my own mistakes, pay for my own mistakes, where I could go out and celebrate the victories.
You're about to watch Trail Mix Pitch Competition 2020.
Hi, I'm Dan Smith.
My name is Matt Bishop.
Thank you for the opportunity today to share a little bit of our product with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Olivia Esser.
I'm Phil Rowe. I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer of Terroir AI.
My name is Alexis Rankin. I am the CEO and co-founder of Chillo.
There's institutional investors coming into Boise in larger numbers than I've ever seen before.
So Black Box VR is the first ever virtual reality workout experience.
They're 100% in it. I'm just the one that's running around with my, hair on fire and speaking for them.
I wanted to do it all, be at everything all the time, to the point where I was constantly stressed out, and I started calling that a fear of missing out.
Entrepreneurs solve problems. They make the world a better place. They create jobs. They create wealth, not only for themselves, but for the entire community. And when you foster that, you can accelerate not only a company, but an entire economy. That's why it's so important to support Startup Week.